your pest control company, it's your whole life. It's your baby. It's what you are all about. But to everybody else in the world, you're just a vendor. You're just another service. You're just a pest control company.
But you want to lead with the types of services that they're going to see value in, because I see this problem a lot with any kind of pest control sales, is that somebody will call in about a particular pest issue and you just fire hose them with everything you do. Welcome to the Bug Bucks Podcast, a podcast designed to turn you into a bug money millionaire. This episode is brought to you by Bug Bucks Plus, the #1 education platform designed to help you build and scale your pest control company. I'm your host, Eric Bassett, and across the way in Vancouver, Washington at our Bug Bucks Plus studio, my co-host, Jake Klaus. What's up, dude?
Dude, I'm here. What's up, Eric? What's up, my Bug Bucksers?
Not too much, man. We finally got a little bit of snow in Boise. Finally. It happened at the very beginning of February, which is so weird.
Yep.
Lasted for a day. Now it's gone.
Uh-huh.
So that's cool. But I'm actually very much excited about going to Phoenix here in about a month.
Oh yeah, buddy. We are.
We're not gonna dive too far into that. Obviously, there's a lot of information that you guys have probably seen in the Facebook group. If you haven't yet, go check it
Little
out.
teaser.
Yep.
Teaser trailer.
Yeah, going to be super, super cool. So I'm excited about that. And we are, it's going to be really, really cool. So
Yeah.
warm weather.
It'll be a nice change of pace.
Yes. It will be a nice change of pace.
Yep.
So if you guys haven't heard about that, or if you want to sign up for it, if you want more information, we have posts in the group. We've got a cool promo video for it. Or you can reach out to us and we can show you how to get all the information you need for it. So we have a really cool topic from the Facebook group that we're going to be covering today. But as always, before we kind of dive into that, just want to remind everybody listening, the best way to receive new episodes is by subscribing to our show on your preferred podcast platform like Apple, YouTube, Audible, or Spotify. If you love the show, please leave us a rating and a review. Make sure to check out our Facebook group, Bug Bucks Plus. That is BUGBUX Plus. We have the owners only group that has over 4,800 other pest control owners waiting to connect with you and share their thoughts. We also have the Bug Bucks Pest Pros group for non-owner team members designed to help them develop in their roles. Joining the groups is the best way to connect with us, share your feedback on our show, and have your questions highlighted and discussed here on the podcast. So make sure you find us on Facebook and join one of those groups. All right, dude. So to the Facebook group, this question comes from Fry Mora. And he says, "Hello, everyone. I have been in business for 3 years, and until now, I have not had any issues with proposals or pricing. I was contacted by a management company who supposedly manages 400 properties. The person who contacted me asked me for a list of services and pricing, but the way that we do business is normally going out and doing a free inspection, and we give a quote or a proposal after. They don't want that. They instead just want general pricing. And we have general pricing based on the property and square footage, but not something generalized for just 400 properties, not knowing the pest condition or the property itself. Does anyone have any general pricing sheet or dealt with something like this similar before? It seems like they don't want to have long-term pest control or don't want to be bothered with inspections." Fry, my guy. This is a really great question. And, I want to highlight, Fry, first of all, that this is actually really common. You're going to get to a point eventually where your reputation is one that a property management company is going to call and find you. And when it comes to property management companies, especially these types where they have hundreds of units that they manage, the format that they're asking, which is just the pricing sheet, is very common. And you also mentioned something about them not really being into a program or recurring pest control like your typical residential customer. That's also very common, so don't let that totally throw you off. But what me and Jake are going to do is kind of walk through some of our pro tips when it comes to handling these situations, what questions to ask, what information you need, and how to deliver an opportunity for those types of customers that makes sense for both you and them and is actually sustainable. So, Jake, I'm going to let you kick this off. What is your first pro tip when it comes to situations like this?
Well, so Fry, the great thing about this is that this is a wonderful problem to have.
Yes.
Right? You've got a property management company that comes to you and says, "Hey, we've got 400 properties. We want you to do pest control at these 400 properties. what do you charge? So I can kind of, I guess from my experience, having dealt with property management companies in the past, I can see where they're coming from, not wanting to have inspections and not, divulging rodent or pest or whatever issues they're having. Simply because to them, pest control, you're just another vendor, right? And we've said this before on the show, like your pest control company, it's your whole life. It's your baby. It's what you are all about. But to everybody else in the world, you're just a vendor. You're just another you're just another service, right? You're just the pest control company.
Hmm.
So for these property management companies, what they're looking for is they're just looking to see how much it's going to cost for you to do these buildings. And they don't want to waste the time with having you come out and do inspections. Plus, truthfully, you probably don't want to waste the time going out to do 400 inspections.
Yes.
Or even if it's like 8 different types of buildings, just happens to be 400 of them in total. That's a lot of time to go out and do all these inspections.
Hmm.
So, this is it's a really great problem to have. And there are some really great workarounds that we've seen other companies do, that we do ourselves at Natura, and also just being creative and thinking through some solutions. I think that what we can come up with is that not only is this a great problem to have, but there's some pretty maybe not easy, but ready solutions to kind of tackle this issue.
100%. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, if I'm gonna have to put in this work, and if they're only gonna be worried about price, and how do I figure out my profitability, and what am I gonna do here? What we're gonna go through kind of helps standardize a lot of that for you, so that you
Hmm.
don't have to put so much thought into it. And the first time that you do this, it might seem like a lot, and you're going to have to do it before you even have a customer. That's going to be the risk. Is you're going to put together this bid, this whole outline, and has all this information in it. You're going to ask all these questions, and maybe you never hear anything from the property management company,
Right.
right? Um, but once you've done it once, you can do it 2 times, 10 times, 20 times, or whatever. And like Jake is saying, having somebody interested in you with that kind of volume is a good problem to have. So, I'll kind of kick off some things that, I've noticed from other companies. We've done it in Natura too. And the first thing is asking questions about what these properties are.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you're going to have a property management company that manages specific like houses within an HOA, right? They've got this geographical area, and all these houses are in the same neighborhood, and they're all the same four layouts, right? You get the cookie cutter home builders, and so you get what you're looking at is what you get, right? They all pretty much have the same kinds of issues. They all kind of have the same kind of conducive conditions, you know.
Two-story homes with an 800 square foot footprint, and the houses
Uh-huh.
are so close together that when you fart, your neighbor hears you on both
Yes.
sides.
Yeah,
You
right. They
know,
all have the vinyl fence. You get it,
yep.
right? So if we're talking about that kind of scenario, that's a lot different than, a condominium complex, where they're all sharing a common wall. And, you might have upper and lower level units, and then you kind of have that scenario, and then also apartment complexes. Or maybe you have like a property management company that covers rentals, and these are just any kind of house that could possibly be in your town, and they're spread out all over the place,
Yep.
right? They just happen to be the company that manages those properties. So asking about the properties, the size of the property, the build, those same kind of questions you would ask a typical customer, that'll be important so that you can get a generalized idea of it. Because in your bid that you provide, you can specify, hey, these types of homes within this square footage, this is the price tag for these types of services. As you move to these other types of construction or higher square footage, then this is how those prices change, right? You kind of have this matrix of pricing and services. And really, what the property management company wants is when they get a phone call and that person says, I have ants, what do I do or whatever. And they say, not a problem. They look at the file that you sent and they know, okay, here's the kind of house, here's the square footage, here's the pest issue. And maybe you even have some additional questions, qualifying questions in there, but they can pinpoint a price and instantly they know what they can approve when they contact the owner of that property and say, your property has X, Y, and Z. I need you to approve this expense for pest control, right?
Yeah.
So type of property is going to be a big thing that comes into that.
Well, yeah, and you have to look at it from the property management perspective. Property managers want two things when it comes to vendors: cheap and simple,
Yes.
right? I mean, that's it. That's the bottom line. At least that's been my experience dealing with property management companies for almost 2 decades. If it's not cheap and if it's complicated, they're going to be out. So, like Eric's saying, having an idea of what kind of properties these are is going to be the first step, right? And then if we wanted to just kind of jump right into, well, how do I price this out?
Hmm.
How do I make this work? Having an idea of what kind of properties you're dealing with in the first place is going to be a big deal. Like Eric said, what if this is a cookie cutter neighborhood? Where we live, where Eric lives, if you live in any city in America, there's a mega builder, right? You probably know the name of the mega builder in your town, right? Corey Barton in Boise, Holt Homes here, right? I mean, these companies that they build hundreds of houses a year or more, right?
Yep.
So if it's a situation like that, you pretty much know they're all going to be kind of the same. So getting a breakdown from the property management company, these are the types of buildings that we have. We've got X number of this type of structure, X number of this type of structure. That gives you a good foundation for knowing how to price that. The second thing that I would say when it comes to this, in your initial contact, back and forth with this property management company, express how excited you are to work with them, right?
Oh yeah.
Kind of butter their biscuit a little bit. Say, "Oh man, I'm so glad you reached out to us. It would be an honor for us to work with such a reputable." I mean, just really lay it on, right?
Hmm.
Um, it'd be such an honor to work with a reputable management company like you. These are some of the things that we're looking for, and I'd be happy to give you pricing that is both fair and easy to work with. So just help me out here. What type? I'm not going to do an inspection. Just help me out. What kind of structures are we looking at? And then that will give you the key information that you need to build out a pricing sheet. And essentially, what you're looking at for pricing is I know we've mentioned this before a million times on our podcast, but you're looking at what is my per hour rate. In other words, if these were regular quarterly residential services, how many residential services can I do in 1 hour, right? And then tack on whatever you want to tack on, 10% or something like that. Or if they're really going for cheap, minus 10% or whatever, we'll give you a discount on it. But that's your per hour rate. How many residential homes can I service in 1 hour? And then the second thing you're looking at is, some of the other expenses, like product and materials and stuff. If these are all rodent accounts and you're putting
Hmm.
out rat bait stations, you got to account for that too. Our rat bait stations are X amount, yada yada yada. So that's your starting point. What kind of structures are we dealing with, and what's my per hour cost?
100%. And I'm glad that we kind of segued into the actual pest issues because those have a completely wild range depending on what you're dealing with, right? We're talking
Yeah,
about,
totally.
you know, customer calls in and they've got spiders. Okay, obviously we're doing some dewebbing, we're doing some perimeter applications and some other stuff. And then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, hey, yeah, I've got a tenant that has bed bugs. Okay, completely different layout, different type of service altogether. And like Jake is saying, once you know, okay, this is my cost per hour. This is the typical price range that I have for normal types of properties. If I apply that to these types of properties, what price would I charge? And then knowing that I have a volume advantage here, and that it might not necessarily happen all at the same time, but you just have to know that there is better potential, right? You've got an opportunity to do more services from this one particular client, which we've talked about before, and the value that that brings. What kind of price tag do I want to put on this to make it an easy decision for them, right? And obviously, you got to maintain profitability. That's important. So got to keep that in mind. And then the other thing I'd mention too is ask ask the property manager you're talking to, hey, what kind of pest issues have you guys been running into over the past 2, 3 years that are your hotspots? You know, what are you most concerned about? What are your tenants calling about? What are you going to be calling us about on average? You know, because if they say, yeah, we've never had any bed bugs at all, it's like, okay, well, maybe I put that on the list, but I'm not going to do too much work trying to figure it out, right? Maybe they say, oh, we have ants. Maybe they say we have carpenter ants. They say we have fire ants. You know, depending on what kind of situation that is, could be different prices, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but you want to lead with the types of services that they're going to see value in, because I see this problem a lot with any kind of pest control sales, is that somebody will call in about a particular pest issue and you just fire hose them with everything you do, right? Oh, we do X, Y, and Z for this and that and the other thing, and we're going to do this, and this will happen for this pest, and they're just sitting on the other end of the phone thinking, I don't care about 80% of what you
Right.
said, right?
Yeah.
So focus on what they see value in, and if you want to throw in some other category that's just general pest or whatever, just to kind of cover all the bases, you can do that. So that's kind of my next point, is just leading with value based on the types of pests that they're likely to see.
We're going to take a quick moment to highlight one of the premier sponsors of the BugBucks Plus platform. Are you running a pest control business and worried about missing sales opportunities? Let's talk about Same Day AI, the game-changing virtual sales agent designed specifically for the pest control industry. This innovative tool uses advanced artificial intelligence to ensure no potential customer slips through the cracks. What's really impressive about Same Day AI is how it integrates seamlessly with Field Routes and other top CRMs. It doesn't just quote, it schedules new customers directly onto your routes, optimizing your workload without missing a beat. I've seen it in action, and it is truly a sight to behold. The efficiency is incredible. Bookings go up and stress goes down. For any pest control business looking to enhance their sales strategy and boost customer engagement, Same Day AI is your answer. Transform your approach and elevate your service with the efficiency that only AI can provide. Trust me, you'll see the difference. Visit GoSameDay.com to learn more and start revolutionizing your business today. We're going to take a quick moment to highlight one of the premier sponsors of the BugBucks Plus platform. Are you a pest control operator that's paying for inbound leads for services that you don't offer or are outside your service area? How would you like to be able to get paid for referring those leads to other companies, all while getting high-quality referrals in return? If you're getting calls for jobs you can't take on, Baton has you covered. With Baton, you can easily refer those callers to other trusted companies and get paid for it. It's super simple. Just create your profile to show what services you offer and where, then start referring leads to more than 500 of Baton's vetted partners, all while getting exclusive, high-converting leads referred back to you in return. Every referral you submit not only gets you paid, but also increases your chances of getting referrals from other companies. And don't worry, every Baton partner pledges not to steal or poach your existing customers in need of other services that you don't provide. With Baton handling the transaction, you can know that customers you refer are in good hands. For BugBucks Plus subscribers, there are no onboarding or membership fees. Plus, you can get up to $400 in free referral credits just for being a subscriber to the BugBucks Plus platform. Give referrals, and get paid. Join Baton today. Go to bugbucksplus.com/Baton to get started. Now back to the BugBucks podcast.
Yeah, and as you're doing this, as you're putting your bid together, you have to make sure that you're positioned in there in a way that you don't lose your shorts, because it'll be easy. I'm telling you, you can get turned around and underwater in a situation like this pretty easily, right? You say, well, my per hour rate is this, yada yada yada. And then we've had experiences where a property management company can start to kind of abuse that relationship, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't specify. So, for instance, let's say that the situation here is, let's just say it's one of these home builders, right, that has a bunch of homes, and then after people move in, then they still kind of manage the property, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you say it's X amount per house, per door, okay? and they say that sounds great. Let's do it. But then they start having, like, let's say it's odorous house ants, an interior problem, spiders inside the house or something. And all it takes is one time for the property management to call in and say, we have this door that you service and they're having ants inside the house. We need you to come take care of that problem inside the house. First of all, what kind of guarantee? Are you doing like a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day warranty on all of the work that you're doing there with free retreatments? Or are you doing no free retreatments? And just to be totally like transparent, property management companies may not necessarily expect you to do free reservices. So if they're not expecting that, don't freaking offer it, right? Don't do it. Because what's going to happen is they're going to say, we've got ants in this person's house and you were just out here 3 weeks ago. Can you come out and retreat? And you say, okay, sure. Now all of a sudden you've set this precedent that anytime something needs to happen inside the house, that you're going to go out and take care of it for free. So what we've done in the past is we've created an expectation where here's our pricing and it's outside and it's per door. So the property management company, they pay for everything that's on the outside. And a lot of the times these are hey, this is a brand new build and we just want to have the outside sprayed. That's what they say. We want to have the outside sprayed before the new person moves in to make it look clean. So you're doing a whole bunch of like one-time exterior treatments. So that is what it is. But what I'm saying is that if the property management company is paying you to do the outside, then specify with them in your agreement. If we're doing the interior of any home, it's X amount on top of the regular charge. Because now that interior service, it's going to take you longer, and all of a sudden your per hour rate bumps up. And chances are the property management company is not going to want to pay you a per hour rate because that's going to be hard for them to track. It's going to be hard for you to bill, and it's going to be hard to keep simple. And going back to the first point, if it's not simple and it's not cheap, they're probably not going to want to do it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll even add to that list that, property management companies do want someone that's reliable and quick. So, you have to also probably set some expectations in there about response time. Hey, if you call me and you have an issue, my response time, I guarantee will be X. And you want to be careful here because if you say that your response time is same day, you better have some resources squared away for that because it could happen anytime, right? Response time within 24 to 48 hours is pretty typical. I think that's fair. And you could also say, hey, here's my response time and here's my additional rates. So if you say my response time for 48 hours is this, normal price, no big deal. My response time for next day or same day calls is this premium on top of that. Don't be afraid to build in additional pricing based on what makes it convenient for them.
Yeah, other trades do that, right?
Exactly.
You call a plumber or an electrician or something for an emergency call that day. Dude, you're going to pay 300% more than if you scheduled out a week and a half in advance, right?
Yes.
So don't shortchange yourself. You are a specialized tradesman, just like any other specialized tradesman. And the reason why they're hiring you to do the work is because you know how to do it. You have the time and the resources to do it, and they don't have that time and resources. So I don't know where you are, Fry, in the age of your company, but I do know that when we were first starting out, the way that we approached this property management situation is totally different than the way that we do it now over a decade in, right? Like back then we were kind of like hungry for these big jobs, right? And we wanted them, and so we wanted to outbid everybody else, and so we'd kind of come in low and we'd lose our shorts on the deal, and you don't have to do that. So what I'm saying is, even if you're in that low, or the beginning stage of your business, and you're eager for this kind of business, rein it in a little bit. Bring it back. Take a deep breath, and then prepare yourself and present your company as though you have been in business for a long time. And you can really charge what you need to charge, because long term, if you stick with this property management company long term and they add 300 doors additional, now you're managing 700 doors for them, and now you start scaling that operation. It's much harder to pivot your pricing down the road than is if you just kind of set the benchmark at the beginning for what you need to make money on.
Exactly. And another thing that I would say too, with the size of his company, right? A good question to ask the property manager is, out of those 400 properties you manage, how many of them have called you for a pest related issue within the last year? Right? What percentage? Because if she says all of them, then it's like, okay, I need to know that within the next year, this client's probably going to bring me 400 appointments or more. But if she says, oh, on average, I had 50 service calls last year. Oh, okay, great. We're talking about a smaller percentage of this entire group. It just allows you to make sure that you have the resources so that you don't overpromise and underdeliver, which is really important. Another thing, we mentioned this in the beginning, that most of these property management companies want a quick fix, they want a one-time service, that kind of thing. You can and should educate the property management company about how to get the best results from pest control, which includes a regular recurring maintenance plan designed to proactively, combat those issues. So if somebody calls in and says, hey, I've got spiders, right? Okay, well, I'll probably talk about the plan because that's going to give them the most value over time, realizing that maybe the owner of the property is not going to shoot for that price tag over the course of the year. That's fine. If I have to do a one-time service, so be it. If she calls in about odorous house ants, I got to be really straightforward with her and say, listen, I know that with some of these other elements, we do some one-time service work for you. With this particular thing, if you end up calling me over 3 times in the next year, which is highly likely, you're going to end up spending more in those treatments than you will if you just jump on this other program.
Yep.
So it is good for you to have program-based pricing as part of your bid. Just know that it's not going to happen often like it will with other customers you have. Your conversion to recurring program is not going to be the typical percentage that you get with normal stuff, normal inbound leads. But you should have that element in there, and you should educate that client so that they can get the best experience out of it when it comes to that. And it also prevents the whole warranty aspect too. If I've got a client on a regular recurring program, I'm much more cool with giving them a warranty, even if they are kind of a commercial client, right? Versus a one-time service that I just hate doing warranties for. Unless it's rodent control and it's built in for the checkup and you can build the pricing out that way.
Yeah, if the pricing makes sense, it makes sense. Because here's the other problem you're going to run into. If the property management company is paying for the services, the issue that you're going to run into is customer compliance. Because when you, the homeowner, are paying for a pest control service and you've got ants, and your pest control guy says, hey, listen, you've really got to quit leaving peanut butter and honey sandwiches sitting on the counter, right? Because you're paying for the service as the customer. You're going to say, oh, okay, well, yeah, I got to do. So you're more compliant, right? But if somebody else is paying for it, you don't give a crap. Let me give an example of this. So several years ago, we get a phone call from this gal that runs. Eric's laughing because he knows where this is going. We get a phone call from this gal that she's the new property management person for this mobile home park, manufactured home park. And the park has something like, I don't know, 250 lots or something like that. 250 doors in this mobile home park. And the problem is that there's rats. There's a crap ton of rats and they're everywhere. And so we're like, okay, well, how do we tackle this problem? And of course, because she's a property manager, she wants to pay as little as she can, and she's expecting the greatest results possible, right? Mm-hmm. So we spent, I don't know, a week or so like hashing out this plan. How the cuss are we going to get rid of rats in this huge mobile home park? And, she doesn't want to pay too much. So anyway, we came up with this plan. And me and my brother, who was a partner at the time, we hooked up my trailer to my truck, and we loaded the back of the truck, like the truck bed, with rat bait stations. And then we loaded up the trailer. The trailer was loaded with rat bait stations. I think that we had, I don't know, 3 pallets or more of rat bait stations in that trailer. And we strapped it all down and we went out there. And anyway, we spent 3 days putting out these rat bait stations. And, you know, we did a survey in the neighborhood too. Where are the hot spots? We printed out a map. We dotted the houses that had the most activity. And then we went and spent 3 days putting out these bait boxes. Well, the problem is that nobody in the mobile home park gave 2 craps about, first of all, there was like 3 people that complained about the rats. Everybody else said, yeah, there's rats here. What are you going to do, right? But the property management company wants to put these bait stations everywhere. So we're trying to control a massive, gnarly rat population in a geographical area where 90% of people don't care whether there's rats or not. And we created this flyer that we put on every single door. Don't throw your trash out. Don't leave your banana peel sitting on your front porch. Clear the crap away from the foundation or from the side of your home. And there was like 0 compliance. Nobody cared to comply. And we went out there once every couple of weeks, and we charged for it, right? We did bill for it. I think that it was not nearly enough, and we lost our shorts on that deal. But that's the other thing, is that customer compliance or resident compliance is going to be the big thing. You're going out there, you're doing the job. They might not care to comply with the upkeep of your service. And so you need to also build that in. Hey, we don't do free reservices. If we have to come back, we charge X amount if it's in the first month, X amount second month, or whatever you want to do, right? But just make sure that you're structuring this differently than you'd structure a regular quarterly pest control or bi-monthly regular warranty service, pest control service for Bob Jones that's calling in for his own house, right? You have to be careful about pricing it so that every time you show up at a door, you're getting paid to be there.
Yes. And speaking of getting paid to be there, we should talk about billing for just a quick second. And I'm going to touch on this and one other thing, and then we're going to let you guys out of here because we're running out of time. But I need to know who's paying me for this. So when the property management company calls you, like, hey, are we billing you, the property management company, for this? If so, what's our billing format here? Are we, hopefully putting some kind of card on file, which that typically doesn't happen. They're on some kind of Net 30 invoicing, horribly old system that you're going to hate. So just understand that.
And it probably goes through a third-party billing agency.
Yep. Yeah. And they probably require you to have some weird, profile on some alternate platform that manages their vendors for them.
Net
That's
vendor.
going to cost you money, right?
Right. Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Am I getting that? Or is it, hey, we want to have a preferred vendor for our community, and the actual homeowners or the people who rent the properties, they're going to be paying for it. They're your customers. That's who the people you're going to bill, right? So understanding who you're getting the money from is really important. And then I'll say this last thing about pricing is, just like any other price increase that we've talked about, like this agreement that you have with them, you need to let them know, hey, this pricing is good for this amount of time, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll submit new pricing to you every year. You can proactively do that and make sure that you increase your pricing as the costs of doing business go up. Because like Jake was saying, you're already going to be close to messing up your margins when it comes to these big accounts that have high volume. The last thing you want to do is have the timeline of how long you've got that account to continue to screw that up. So
yeah. Well, let me just add one last thing there, just a piggyback. We've done deals before where the property management company, they pay for the outside, but part of the deal is that the resident pays if you have to go inside, right? Mm-hmm. Like Eric is saying, don't mix it up, right? Put it in writing. The deal is that if we have to go inside, yes, it is an additional cost. The resident does have to pay for it, but we are billing you. Yes. And you can tack that amount on their rent or whatever, but it's up to you to collect that amount from the tenant. Otherwise, you're going to spend all of your time chasing around pennies with these freaking residents, and you're going to be stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. So
Yep. And they're
Just
going to
spell
be,
it all out.
they'll be blaming each other. You know, you'll call the property manager and they're like, oh, you have to build a tenant. And then you call the tenant. They're like, I think the property management company pays for that. Circles, horrible
Yep.
circles. So, well, this has been an awesome episode. Fry, thank you so much for engaging in the group, posting this question. We love answering questions from the Facebook group. For everybody else listening in, we appreciate you guys taking the time. If you have a coworker, manager, or an owner who could benefit from listening to this episode, the best way to say thank you to us is to share this episode with them. If you haven't joined the Facebook groups yet, go find the groups and join. It's BugBucks Plus. Lots of information and great connections there. If you have a topic you want discussed on the show, just like today, drop it in the group. As always, this episode is brought to you by BugBucks Plus, the #1 training and education platform designed to help you build and scale your pest control company. Visit bugbucksplus.com to sign up and start building today.
And hit subscribe already. Jeez Louise, just get it done. Come on.
Thanks again for listening in, and until next time, keep building those pest control companies.
You're listening to the Bug Bucks Podcast, hosted by Eric Bassett and Jake Klaus.